Dear guests, welcome to the GFFA Science Slam 2025. Please welcome on our stage our moderator, Drew Portnoy.
Hi, hello. Welcome to the Science Slam here at the GFFA. As you heard, my name is Drew Portnoy. I am a comedian and moderator here in Berlin, and I'm honored to be hosting this Science Slam. It's the third time I'm hosting this slam here at the GFFA, and as they say in German, alle guten Dinger sind drei. The third time's a charm. So I'm very happy to be here. Before we get into the Science Slam, we always like to start our Science Slams by talking a little bit about the latest news in science, what's been going on in science in the recent months. Since it's January and I host Science Slams all around the year, I thought I would highlight my three favorite stories from 2024 before we start the Science Slam. My favorite story came out in August, I think it was August last fall. The researchers at the University of Macquarie in Australia found out that a daily walk or 5 walks per week can help you alleviate lower back pain. This is my favorite story because every German in the room, where I just talked about walks helping your lower back pain, every German in the room said, "Oh, I know." Because the world thinks that Germans love beer and Germans love cars, but what Germans love the most is going for a walk. It's their favorite thing. Germans have to get outside every day. I don't know if you know, the Germans have to get outside every day. They have to photosynthesize every day, or else they turn into pumpkins. I don't know. So, and part of that getting outside is going for a walk. We just had the holidays, so you had a Christmas walk, you had a New Year's walk. They're just walking all the time. There's also Sunday walks. And so Macquarie University proved what Germans already know. The thing I liked about this study the most, they looked at 700 people who went on daily walks and had less lower back pain. They asked the researchers, why do the people have less lower back pain? And the researchers said, we have no idea. And I love research that comes to a conclusion but doesn't really know why. So Germans are right. If you have a German friend and they say go for a walk, believe them. It's true. The next thing, like I said, I do Science Slams all year, and I'm always reading science news. And one thing I've noticed over the last year or two is that every second article, or even more than every second article, involves artificial intelligence. Every article, almost every article is about artificial intelligence, how artificial intelligence can help you conduct research, how artificial intelligence can help you interpret research, how artificial intelligence can even help you come up with important research topics. And most recently, I saw one that said that artificial intelligence can actually sniff whiskey better than professional whiskey people. Artificial intelligence is starting to have fun, is what I think we're learning. But there are so many articles about artificial intelligence, I started to think, who's writing these articles? Is AI already taking over? Are they just trying? It's kind of like in high school, when I learned about the body, we learned that the brain is the most important organ in your body. And then I thought, who's telling me that? So maybe AI is just trying to is setting up its own place to take over the world. It's already started. And then the third and final, my favorite science news last year, was that researchers at the University College in London came up with the thinnest noodle, the thinnest piece of pasta. As you can tell, I like food. And so this is, of course, very interesting to me. They came up with a piece of string of spaghetti. Basically, it's 2/100th the size of a human hair. It's tiny. It's super tiny. But like any pasta, we have to cook pasta. I didn't know this. We cook pasta to make room between the starches in the pasta. I did not know this. I'm not a scientist. But you have to cook the pasta to get room between the starches. And this tiny pasta, they have to cook it as well. It has to be cooked as well. But they don't cook it with water. They cook it with acid. And the researchers said basically they're pickling the pasta. So now I'm going to go home and I'm going to try boiling my pasta in pickle juice, I think. Very interested in that. But this pasta is actually what they do is they cook it, they put it in this acid, they stretch it out, and then they make meshes out of it, and they use it to heal wounds. It's actually not for eating. They just put it in the wounds, and it helps heal your wounds. So I thought, I don't know, I would probably eat it and just let my wounds, put a Band-Aid on my wound. It's actually, I did not know this. I thought angel hair pasta was the smallest pasta. Apparently that's not true. There's another pasta called Sue Ellender, and there's only one family in India who can make this, in Italy who can make this pasta. So I might have to go to Italy and find this pasta and try to eat it. So those are my three favorite science news from last year. Beware of artificial intelligence, I think is what we want to do, but go on walks. So I think we'll slowly start with our slam activities. Thank you all for coming out today, by the way. And to start off, I would like to welcome Maya Clausen from the Research Division of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture to the stage. Applause, please, for Maya. Hi, good to see you again.
Yes, it's the third time.
Yeah, third time. Same procedures every year, yes. It is the third time. Why do we do a Science Slam every year here at the GFFA?
Well, in fact, it's actually the sixth time. It's the third time for you, but it's the sixth Science Slam at GFFA altogether. And yes, why do we do this? Because science is such an integral part of agriculture and food. A lot of people are not aware of that, but a lot of the things we eat and are science-based. And that's, I think, something that's worth noting and sharing.
And why did you originally have the idea to bring a Science Slam?
Yeah, because we also want to illustrate that a lot of people think that science is dull and boring, but we also wanted to show that, no, that's not necessarily the case. It can be very entertaining, and we also want to really provide the opportunity for young scientists to share their passion for science. And I think the Science Slam, perfectly sets this, on stage, literally.
It brings it to communicate science. This year, every year it's the Ministry for Food and Agriculture, but this year there's actually two ministries involved.
Not directly, but a lot of people may know or have noticed that our current minister, Cem Özdemir, who's the Minister for Food and Agriculture, is also the Minister for Education and Research. So he's combining those two roles at the moment. And I think he realized already, and of course we in the research division in particular, that there's a lot of things that we have in common and that we can do together. And it's really a great partnership, and I hope it will continue.
Okay, thanks a lot, Frau Clausen.
Good luck and enjoy.
Thank you. Okay, in a minute I will explain you the rules of the Science Slam, but I would first like to introduce you to who our slammers are going to be today so we know what's going on. So please, with applause, I'd like to introduce our slammers. First up, we will have Usha Sri Sunkari from the University of Surrey. Then Thomas Freimuth from the Research Institute for Farm Animal Biology. Then Dorcas Sanginga Alame from the University of Bonn. And last but not least, Clark Halpern from Wageningen University in the Netherlands. These are our four slammers. You'll get to know them much better here in a moment. Thanks a lot. One more round of applause, and then I'll explain the rules. Thanks, guys. Okay, so now I can explain. So a Science Slam, if you're familiar with poetry slams or other kinds of slams are competitions, and Science Slam is no different. This format was developed because we want to make science more available to the masses, to people who maybe aren't interested in science or don't always understand science. They want to come up with a format to make it more accessible, and so that's why we do a slam, and it is also a competition like a poetry slam or the other slams. And with every competition, of course, you need rules. This is Germany, we would need rules anyway, but we need them because it's a slam, we have rules, but we only have four, we keep it simple. The first rule in the slam, and it's important that you notice this because you as the audience will be picking the winner of the slam, so it's important that you understand the rules. The first rule is it has to be their own research. What these four slammers will present today on the stage, it's the research they did themselves, these are their own conclusions, their own research. The second is it has to be understandable. We need to know what they're talking about. We have to understand what their research is, why they did it, just so we can, that's sort of conversational, that anybody could understand it. The third rule is it should be entertaining. We don't only want to understand it, we also want to be entertained. We want time to go by quickly, so it should also be entertaining. And the fourth and possibly most important rule is all of that has to be done within 10 minutes. They only have 10 minutes to do it. If they go over 10 minutes, I have to come up on stage and personally lift them off the stage. It's my favorite part. I only get to do it about once a year, though. So, and I don't think we'll have that today. But in case if they go over time limit, we need a timekeeper. Does somebody have their phone charged up and would be willing to keep time? Anybody? Any volunteers? All right, right there. Okay. What's your name? Clement. All right, Clement, you're going to get a bell. And if you can look at your clock, and what we need you to do is at 8 minutes, if you could ring it just kind of easily. Could you show us what would you do at 8 minutes, just to say, hey, you've got 2 more minutes to go. Try a test. Yeah, that's maybe just one little, perfect. And then at 10 minutes to tell them your time's up, how would you ring it? Perfect, just, yeah. I think that's good. Can we please have applause for Clement? Okay. Perfectly. So then when it comes time to pick the winner, we usually do an applause test, but today we're going to do it a little more technology. We're going to use a QR code. This will be this QR code. It's not time yet to vote, but after the slam, when all 4 slammers have been presented and we'll bring them up on stage, you'll get a chance to scan this QR code and vote for them. I see some of you are scanning it out. Perfect. So you use this QR code to vote, and that way we can do it quickly, and we'll know the winner today. That'll be good to know. So that's the QR code. Good. Then we have the rules. I've introduced you to slammers. Then just one last thing before we start the slam. All of these slammers have spent a lot of time preparing their presentations. They've practiced. They did all the research themselves. They came a long way to come to the slam today, and so they all deserve a lot of support support. And the way you can do that as an audience is with applause. And normally we do this little thing where we do a test where I say, what would be a number 5 applause? What would be a number 7? What would be a 10 applause? But you're not going to need any of those other applauses. You're only going to need a 10 applause. So I thought we should do a little practice to see how good your number 10 applause is so we can have enough energy and the right support for the slammers. So I'm going to count to 3 and just give it all of your energy so we can get some energy in the room. We know that you can applaud correctly, all right? Let's try this. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. There we go. Perfect. Yep, there. That's good. Whistling, calls, it's all perfect. That's exactly what we need. Good, then just use this applause all day and we're fine. Like I said, all the slammers deserve your support. So, then, I think it's the time we've all been waiting for. We can move on to our first slammer of the day. Please welcome Ushashree Sankari from the University of Surrey. Perfect. Hi. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing well, thanks. So you're going to talk to us about millets today.
Yeah.
How did you come to the idea of researching millets?
So while I was working as a catering assistant and customer care representative at the hospital in the UK while pursuing the Masters in Food Science, so I came to know that a lot of people in the UK, not only the UK, the global level, they suffer with a celiac disease and the gluten-related issues. So you can see that the global level prevalence of the celiac disease is 0.7 to 2.9%, and the gluten-related disorders is 5% globally. So I thought like they are having the corn and the rice, potato starch bread, which is not good for the health because they lack nutrients in it. So I started working on the millets because these millets compensate this nutritional deficiency in the celiac disease patients. So the people think the millets are the very bland diet. So in order to improve the flavor and the texture of the millets, I've added the matta rice flour, which especially grown in the Kerala and the region in India.
So you just want to give people better food to eat?
Yes.
Okay. And this is your first time in Berlin?
Yes, this is my first time in Berlin.
How do you like it?
I liked it a lot because when compared to the UK, the Berlin is very affordable. And not only in the case of economic issues, I like the people here a lot and the infrastructure, everything.
And have you been able to find good Indian food?
Yes, I found one Indian restaurant. Well, I get on from the train. I directly went because I was starving for the food. I directly went to the Indian restaurant. I had a good food.
All right. Great. Well, then I'm looking forward to your slam. Clement, are you ready? Okay. Ushashree, the stage is yours.
Thank you. So, the rise of millets, a story of bread, health and sustainability. Welcome to the story of how millets are changing the world of bread, health and sustainability. At the end of the story, you will understand why millets are superheroes of a food system in the modern era. So, let's meet Lena today, who is my cousin here. So once upon a time, my cousin Lena with her family gathered for a breakfast. So the laughter fills the air as a parent shared the story of the day ahead, while Lena loved the smell of bread as it warmed her hands and filled her tummy with joy. But one day the joy turned into worry when Lena had a piece of a favorite bread a smile turned into a worry. Pain clutched her stomach. Lena clutched her stomach, a smile turning into a frown. Parents worried about the little one, desperate for answers, and they rushed to the doctor. Lena sat on the examination table while the doctor checked her and asked a few questions. And after a few tests, the doctor declared that she is suffering with the celiac disease, which meant she couldn't be able to tolerate a protein, which is a gluten, which is found in wheat, barley, oats, even oats and rye. But eating the food that contained a gluten can cause a range of gut symptoms. As you can see, bloating, nausea, fatigue, diarrhea, gastrointestinal distress, weight loss, stomach pain, and headache. But imagine, she is not the one person who is suffering with the celiac disease. 0.7 to 2.9 approximately, the global level celiac disease patients are suffering with this condition. And imagine, no more of Lena's favorite food, bread. To address this health issue, by the gluten-free mediated disorders, the gluten was banned. And in response to that, the supermarket shelf overflow with the rice and corn alternatives. So these alternatives, they could provide a solution for the gluten-free, but they lack essential nutrients in it. Furthermore, the environmental impact of these crops is significant. So it requires substantial water and the land use, which leads to the soil degradation over time. The global quest for these alternatives is not just about the health, but also focusing on the sustainable agriculture. So Lena came to me one day with a problem that she was diagnosed with celiac disease. Even though there are products like a gluten-free available in the market, they're not in par with the millets and its byproducts, which contribute to holistic development. Following night, I dreamed of a solution, millets in the form of superheroes. So these are the Asian grains. Once it was consumed 3000 BCs in the Indus Valley civilization. So these millets, they contribute to the health and more sustainable alternative. And it can also provide a better solution for the sustainable agriculture and bioeconomy. Have you ever heard of millets before? Good. So in my kitchen experiment, I started working on different types of millets, finger millet, foxtail millet, kodo millet. In order to increase the flavor of the bread, I have added the matares flour. So I've adjusted different combinations and the ratios in order to increase the texture and the flavor of the bread. So it was a very challenging process, but finally I was determined to create a gluten-free, which is not only healthy, but also a sustainable product. So I began working on this. Finally, I created a recipe for the millet-based bread. So it was a breakthrough for me. So which starts with the dry yeast, placing on the bread pan, preparing the bread pan, placing the dry yeast first, the following with solid ingredients like millet flour, sugar, salt, and etc. And again, which followed by the liquid ingredients like water and oil. So this process took just about 4 hours, ensuring the uniform preparation, fermentation, and baking. So once the bread is baked, it was freeze-dried to preserve its nutritional and the physiochemical properties, which reveals that this bread is very rich in fiber, essential nutrients, as well as protein in it. So the sensory analysis was also done. As you can see, the sensory analysis is also done. which reveals that it called earthy, nutty, and the former texture, which is equally significant. So, behind the taste, these millets represent a significant step towards sustainability. So, resilient grains are eco-friendly crops which contribute to a sustainable agriculture, as well as it can address water scarcity. Furthermore, it does not require any pesticides or the chemicals to grow, so it can reduce environmental harm, and it can also survive drought, heat, and it can also improve the soil health condition, ensuring the food security. And you can see this millets, embracing millets, aligned with the several UN Sustainable Development Goals. It can contribute to zero hunger by their nutritional dense food, and can also support the good health and well-being with a nutritional profile. So it can also be it can also generate income in the rural communities or the rural areas by thus meeting the SDG 1, the Sustainable Development Goal 1, and the climate action as well being a lower impact and improving the biodiversity. It can contribute to clean water and sanitation, which meets the SDG 6, and the sustainable cities and communities by improving, integrating those millets into the urban diet, can improve the sustainable communities and cities. And it can also improve the biodiversity conservation by SDG 15, and also working on the indigenous or promoting this indigenous seed system can also improve the partnerships for the goals. And you can see that these millets plays a very pivotal role in achieving the zero hunger. And 28 million people go to bed hunger every night. And you can see that the 3.1 billion people, they don't have a sufficient safe and nutritious food. So these millets, they can live with an environmental adaptability, and they can vulnerable to very climate actions. Like they can grow, these are hardy crops, they can grow in arid and the semi-arid regions. So it has got good nutritional benefits like you can see the essential amino acids like lysine, methionine, and so on. And the micronutrients like iron, phosphorus, magnesium, and the zinc, which can combat malnutrition. Simultaneously, it can cater a diverse range of populations by addressing even the gluten-free conditions as well. So, as an individual, we can influence the food system and its policies by improving the cultivation and consumption of the millets. So, I couldn't able to share my creation with Lena. She loved the flavor and the texture of the bread, and her family enjoyed, and it was a moment for me to see the Lena and her family enjoying the delicious and healthy, sustainable millet-based bread happily ever after. So, I invite you to explore the millets in your kitchen experiments with recipes and join the movement towards a healthier and sustainable bioeconomy. Thank you so much for your time and attention. And I invite you to connect with me through the QR code, LinkedIn QR code. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yep.
Yeah.
Got everything?
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep. Okay. Next up, we have Thomas Freimuth from the Research Institute for Farm Animal Biology. All right, welcome to the GFFA Science Slam.
Thank you, Drew.
Right away, you've got my sympathy because you studied at the Technical University of Munich, where my son is now studying as well. So, nice campus. Before we get on to your slam, we talked yesterday a little bit, and you have a sort of, what's your favorite sport?
It's handball.
Handball, which is very important right now because?
Because it's the World Championship going on right now. And this evening, Germany will have its second round in the first section, which is against the Swiss team, which drew up with the Czech Republic 2 days ago. So it's going to be a tough one because they have a very good defense line. So please make sure to watch this in the evening.
What's your tip for the score?
I don't know. So I think if we play as we did 2 days ago, I think we're gonna beat them. But it's gonna be a tough one in the first half, and we have to make some adjustments for the second. But then we can make a distance and we win it.
Who do you think will win the World Championships?
I don't think so, because I think just as at the Olympics, the Danish team is simply way too good for us. Okay. But I think we could make it to the quarter or even the semifinals.
And when it's not about national teams, who's your favorite team in Germany, in the German league?
Currently, I would say I don't have a real big team that I watch all the time. So I enjoy watching the Kiel team because they are always playing on a very high level. But for me, it's mostly about singular players that form a team and bring their contributions. So it's mostly the goalkeepers, to be honest.
Were you a goalkeeper when you played?
I were a goalkeeper when I was playing, so yeah.
It probably took up the whole goal.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite an advantage if you're 6'5", so people tend to respect you.
6'5"?
Yeah.
Okay. What percentage of the population is 6'5"?
Probably down to 5%, maybe.
Down is the wrong word. Okay, and then on another topic, you have sort of an interesting hobby, aquariums.
Yes, definitely. So I had my very first aquarium when I was like 12 or 13. And ever since, I always had a kind of thingy with water in it and some live animals in there. And for the last couple of years, I went into the marine side of the hobby. So I had a coral reef aquarium and cultured some very beautiful corals.
So do you prefer corals over fish?
Yes, I do. So fish are like, well, they are good to see, but for me it's like more the corals, because the corals are basically animals that decided to act like a plant. So it's kind of interesting to keep them, and they're very beautiful, especially under blue light. They fluorescent, so it's really beautiful.
Okay. Well, that's not related to your topic today, but I'm very excited to hear it. Then the stage is yours. Are you ready, Clement? Okay, the stage is yours.
So thank you very much. So I've got some good news from nature today, because in 2009, the Pacific tuna was near to extinction because it was 2% of its pre-humanity stocking density. But in 2024, it was already restocked back to 20% of its pre-humanity stocking, which is a huge success for all the countries in the Pacific region. Ironically, our federal ministry recommends us to eat more fish. But this is the self-sufficiency chart for Germany. And we can't find fish in this self-sufficiency chart, right? Can't we? So there's meat in there, there's milk in there, there's potatoes in there. And that's for a good reason, because Germany is a biodiversity hotspot for sausages. Nevertheless, our ministry recommends fish from sustainable fisheries or aquaculture. And this is the German fish production in aquaculture. It's 1% self-sufficiency, and if we add the fisheries, we come to 9% of a total supply with fish. So yes, we are the real expert in fish handling. So we import most of our fish. And a lot of this still comes from our oceans, is wild caught. And each portion of this wild caught fish, we serve with some very fine heavy metal. Well, of course, I'm exaggerating here a bit, but it is difficult to find wild-caught fish that is not, at some ways, polluted. And the reason for this is that only 2% of the sunlight that reaches the ocean surface is transformed into biomass, which is then used to feed our whole pyramid, all of our ecosystems. And only a large base allows nature to have healthy stocks of the top predatory fish that we like to consume. So in order to deal with this, our first reaction to a growing need for protein was to increase the use of small marine fish species to feed our aquacultured fish. But at first, it worked. But then, in the end, we failed because we eradicated the feed source for our tuna. And so the Pacific tuna story of today tells us that we leave enough small fish below the tuna so he can feed and grow, which also, by the way, binds a huge amount of nutrients in the live bodies in our ecosystem, which helps to mitigate climate change. So we all profit from a healthy planet with healthy ecosystems. So today, we use not more than 25% of wild-caught fish to feed our aquaculture fish. By mixing and keeping tight quality controls of our feeds, we are able to lower pollutants like heavy metals in our feedstuff. So aquaculture production allows us also to have a better food security. But such a success comes with a drawback. We grew our fish feed and we nurture them on fields. We use more than 50% of our land for feed production and 25% for plant food production. But we are limited to half of our total land because the remaining is either woods, water, a natural reserve, or we already use it for civil purposes. So based on our theory of the biomass pyramid, we Germans would face a natural population growth limit. So we started to increase our land surface by simply buying feeds from all over the world. What a genius solution, right? We use 1/3 of the land from other countries and we feed ourselves. Genius. So today, Germany has a handicap of 16%. We need 16% more protein feed than our land harvests. We also want economic growth and space to live. So we build big houses, factories, infrastructure, all we can imagine, which needs a whopping 190 square kilometers per year of new land. And guess what? The majority of this land comes from agricultural use cases. On top, recent studies estimate that the plant produce we harvest is down to 20% edible biomass on our plate. And the best example is wheat bran. We remove the seedling and the hull of the wheat kernel to improve the shelf life and reduce the fiber content. But thereby, we also remove half of the essential amino acids which we require to build proteins in our body. So detrivorous critters, mainly insects, use this non-edible biomass to thrive. So they are not a direct part of our pyramid, but they feed the pyramid of all stages, which also includes us humans. So today, we already consume more than 200 insect species worldwide, every day. And one of them is the larvae of the black soldier fly, which mainly can be fed on wastes. And she is definitely the fastest garbage collector you will find. So these are 8 hours of the life of a black soldier fly. We are talking about an 8,000-fold increase of larval mass within 17 days of life. This growth speed produces large quantities of larvae, but only if we can provide high quantities and a sufficient quality of feed, meaning protein mainly. But today, we Germans discard a whopping 11 million tons of biomass per year. In theory, we could use all of these wastes. But our current regulatory system gives us clear boundaries. Because black soldier fly were integrated as a common livestock, forcing us to feed our larvae with clean biomass, just as in our pyramid scheme. This legislation is not 100% wrong, because using wastes bears the theoretic risk of pollutant accumulation. But there could be a benefit in changing these regulations. So the baseline of our modern insect rearing is often wheat bran, a mostly food-grade byproduct. Replacing it with regionally byproducts would allow a broad integration of black soldier fly, independent of the region and availability of the wheat bran. So by mixing many different sources of regional byproducts and biomass, we can avoid the accumulation of pollutants because the singular component gets diluted. So we took all available sources of biomass we could find. We mixed them into rations and fed them to our larvae. Our 3 best rations were then fed to larvae in 2 runs with equal conditions. The performance was found higher or comparable to a feed grade control, which is to be seen by the dotted line. So we were able to show that it is beneficial to use byproduct and biomass mixtures on top of a feed grade control. And for small-scale farmers out there in the world, there is an even easier solution. So we feed simple kitchen scraps or any biomass you can find. As soon as the larvae is ready to pupate, she will crawl into the dark, which is above the bucket, and then she falls into the bucket. And later on, the person or the farmer, he can feed the larvae alive without any further losses. You can really easily apply this. There is no time effort, and there's not a lot of knowledge that you need. So in this way, we found out that we are able to recover 50 to 70% of protein, even if the nutrient composition of this protein is unknown before we mix it. Such easy-to-apply regional feeding schemes contribute to 7 FAO Sustainable Development Goals. Using our respiratory chambers in the end, we were able to identify that carbohydrates and proteins are essential nutrients to mitigate gaseous emissions. Ammonia is emitted if we feed too much protein, just as in any other livestock. And CO2 is emitted if we provide unbalanced carbohydrate sources. So by mixing, we have control over our emissions. So mixing regionally adapted rations holds the potential to efficient protein valorization worldwide. So these are the numbers of ship crossings per year. The redder, the more crossings on our oceans. We are far away from a world where human desires are met by regional production. Our black soldier fly larvae is a perfect tool to support our efforts of regionally closed nutrient cycles. So let's integrate the larvae wisely. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Thomas. Okay, next up, our third slammer is Dorcas Sanginga Alame from the University of Bonn. So you're going to talk to us about circular agriculture. Do you come from a farming family?
Yes, I do.
So it was second nature to you to research that?
Yes.
But you're now living in Bonn at the moment.
Mm-hmm, correct.
And what do you like about Bonn?
I like the landscape in Bonn with the Rhine River, which gives me the opportunity to have long and refreshing walk around it.
It's walks again, I'm telling you. It's a theme here. So you like to go for a walk on the Rhine River. What else do you do on the weekends in Bonn?
Well, I would go and visit some cities around me because being in Bonn gives me the opportunity to go to other cities and know what those cities have to offer.
So Cologne and Düsseldorf are nearby?
Yes.
So you're going to have to pick a side.
I know, that's a trap.
Yeah.
I don't want to find myself in this divide because I still need my friends in both cities when I go back home. So I love both cities. Cologne for its history and architecture, and Düsseldorf for its airports, which affords me good air tickets to fly home. So now it's up to you to choose one, the one that I like the best. I don't want to choose, so you choose for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know either, but they're both good arguments. So you're originally from the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Correct.
Now you live in Bonn. Mm-hmm. Where would you, and now you're completing your studies, where would you like to live once you're done?
Well, I believe that I can make an impact anywhere, so I would want to go where my abilities and things that I can offer to the world would be useful, so anywhere.
Anywhere.
Okay.
You don't have a personal preference?
No.
Okay.
Anywhere I can make an impact.
Okay, nice. Then, Clement, are you ready? Doing a good job over there. Then, yeah, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Drew. Thank you for being here today. Do you have handkerchief or tissue paper with you? I hope you do. Huh? So I also want to congratulate you because you just won a ticket to come with me on a short trip to Ghana. So welcome to northern Ghana, in a village where live these three amazing people right here, Mahama, Amina, and Salatu. They have three different stories. Amina is struggling, Mahama is thriving, and Salatu is just starting to succeed. But why? How can their stories be so different and yet they live on the same land? This is a problem. And it's a very common problem in agricultural systems because people do not benefit equally. We cannot let this continue. We have to find a solution to this problem. Luckily, there are mechanisms, there are ways to fix this problem, and I am here to give you the good news about that. But before we get into the fixing business, I want to take you back to how all this started. So, in a village in northern Ghana called Dimabi, a few years ago, hope knocked on the door of these three farmers. Its name, Integrated Soil Fertility Management, or ISFM as they like to call it. So the scientists promised the farmers in a handbook that ISFM could revive their land, improve their yield, and make their lives better. Only if you use improved seed, you know how to rotate disc seed, use organic fertilizer from crop residue and animal manure, and avoid using heavy machinery on your field. So, a solution, they said, a game changer they promised. But was it going to be different? I don't know. Because these farmers, they dared to hope, they trusted the scientists, which they do actually. Anytime they see us, they trust us. But was it enough? They couldn't say. They didn't know if this ISFM was going to change their lives, but they just started practicing it. A few years down the line, Mahama and Amina met along the way as they were both coming back from their field. Mahama with a full bag of maize. Amina heartbroken with her kid on the back, empty basket with nothing to feed her family back home. This meeting here was not a meeting between two farmers. It was a meeting of two faiths. And here, they were both practicing ISFM. So from Amina, we need to know why she's going back home. You see her there, the ISFM book the scientist gave her. She cannot even read what is in it. So she has to wait for her husband, when he has time, to read for her how she would go and do it in her farm. And mostly, it's when the husband has time, the planting time has passed, so she misses on it. So actually, she might not be doing ISFM the right way. The land is not even hers. As a woman in northern Ghana, she cannot inherit land. So she had to borrow it from her husband, and now the husband is even threatening to take it away because it's now having some kind of life. He wants to use it next cropping season for his own farming business. Amina, as a woman, again, she has to farm between crying babies, cooking pots, and household chores that stretch from sunrise to moonlight. How can she farm, surely, and succeed? As for Mahama, ISFM has been good news. It's been transformational for him. His yield tripled. Now his kids can dream of brighter futures because they're going to school. He even ventured in other side businesses. But it's different here. Farming is all he does. No cleaning, no cooking, no kids tucked on his shirt. So, it's clear that he has to succeed. But we are not doing a fair job here. They started to lament, but they couldn't find a solution. But Amina needed answers, and she didn't know where to find it. But there were people sitting at the University of Bonn who had the answer for her, but she didn't know them. So this news got to the scientific community, And they knew the people at the University of Bonn, so they came to us. We are used to study complex systems like the one Amina and Mahama are in. So we looked at this system, and we were quite surprised to see that even 5 years, 10 years, 25 years, Amina will still be getting less than Mahama. And this is not a fair system, because clearly we have here 2 farmers, 1 solution, but vastly 2 different outcomes. That's not fair. We cannot let it continue. So because we need to understand the system, we wanted to see it from a perspective of somebody who looks like Amina. We went to meet Salatu. She also started like Amina, but her story has changed a bit. She is now seeing some kind of improvement, only because she went to learn ISFM from Mahama by practicing. The book, she didn't use it too. So now, she also now knows how to do ISFM. And the people in her household were quite fortunate to meet some good civilians who educated them on how to be helpful in the house. So all the job in the house is not for her alone. So now she can see some improvement, and she's now harvesting with ISFM. So clearly, the land is not punishing Amina. It's the system that is failing her. And we cannot let this continue, because Amina also needs to survive. Her kids have to eat. So now, ISFM, it's good, it's a solution, but not for every farmer equally. And if we continue giving farmers innovations like this, we'll be leaving so many Aminas behind. For Mahama, it's a ladder to prosperity, but for Amina, it's a dream. Heavy weight on her shoulders. But what if we could do things different? Level the field. How? By introducing extras. We call them complementary innovations, so that for every farmer, you give them the necessary support on what they need. For the problem of land for women in Ghana, introduce legal frameworks on how landowners can be sensitized on land tenure problems. For training on these practices, show them in the way they could easily relate, so that at the end, every farmer will be able to be happy. And this is equity. This is what we need, and I know it is possible to achieve this. For me, as Drew said, I come from a family where farming is a big business. I believe that we need to get to the day when every hand that tills the soil is going to be rewarded. Sorry, I'm getting a bit emotional. And, sorry, every hand should be rewarded, but that very same soil, because we don't have to continue leaving Amina behind. I'm raising my voice today, joining it to that of farmers in northern Ghana, to call for an equitable system, a system that does not choose who should benefit, a system where no farmer, no family, no community is left behind. And we can achieve this, it's possible. We can achieve equity in agriculture. So, it's good because some people have already started this fight. And these people believe that it's possible, so they have invested their efforts in making sure that Amina feeds her kids. I hope you used your handkerchief, because if you didn't, that's okay. Know that Amina tonight is going to use it, as she's going to see her kids going to bed hungry. And I know that's not what you want. So what are you waiting for? Join us in this movement, in whatever capacity you have, in whatever work you do. And in case you don't know how to do it, don't worry, I'm here for that. I can accompany you in this journey. So I'm just an email away, and this is how you can find me. So with that, I thank you for joining me on this trip, and I welcome you back to Berlin. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dorcas. Very nice.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, and now we come to our final slammer. Please welcome to the stage Clark Halpern from Wageningen University in the Netherlands. Hey, Clark.
Great to be here, Drew.
So it's not really a surprise that he just ran up on the stage because one of his hobbies is marathons.
Yes, I am this year running my 5th marathon in Amsterdam, which should be a really fantastic time.
I actually ran the Berlin, I don't look like it, I ran the Berlin Marathon twice, and I met a man after I ran my 2nd marathon, and he said, I have respect for somebody who runs 1 marathon and no respect for someone who runs 2.
It's very well said.
Yeah. So what's been your favorite marathon?
My favorite marathon so far has been Paris. It's been really beautiful. You get to run next to the Arc de Triomphe, down the Champs-Élysées. But the issue is you finish close to the Eiffel Tower, and it is really not that pretty when you're finishing a marathon. You're quite done with the sight at that point.
You're suffering. What's your personal best?
3 hours and 41 minutes, so perfectly fine.
Yeah, that's okay, yeah. And what comes after Amsterdam? Are you going to do another marathon?
Oh, we'll see. I mean, after 5 times, how much sympathy can you really get?
None. Yeah. And then you also, not only marathon, as if that doesn't take up enough time, you have another hobby, pretty unique.
Yes. Earlier this year, I actually started crocheting as a way to relieve stress. And I have crocheted lots of things over this past year.
What's been your favorite thing?
My favorite thing is I actually crocheted an entire blanket for my wife, which was a really fun thing, but it took quite a long time.
That's kind of like a present for yourself, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. Get it. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to your presentation, Clement. Your last time. Are you ready? Okay. Then the stage is yours.
Welcome, everyone, to the year 1042. And we're coming across quite a strange sight at the court of Scotland. You see the king in the center in a fit of madness, staring at what appears to be a ghost on his throne. The queen standing valiantly next to him, trying to draw attention, protect him somehow. And the rest of the court looking very confused. They're all mostly staring at the king, wondering why he's acting like this. And only a few people are looking in the direction of this ghost. Well, what brought us here? So, a couple of weeks ago, 2 companions, Macbeth and Banquo, were returning from a battle, and they ran into a trio of witches. So these witches began to offer a plethora of prophecies to these 2 companions. To Macbeth, they told him that he was fated to become the future king of Scotland. To Banquo, they told him that while he himself would never be king, his children would produce a lineage of kings. Macbeth responds like most people who were just told that they were going to become king, quite excited, a little bit suspicious, a little bit concerned about how this might come to pass, but overall, his ambition takes hold and he decides that this is a great news. Whereas Banquo was quite a bit more suspicious about these 3 strangers appearing in the night, and even asked them, if you can look into the seeds of time and say which grains will grow and which will not, speak then to me. Wondering how their prophecies will actually impact him and his future. Well, Macbeth had a lot fewer hesitations about this prophecy, and in fact went off and murdered the current king of Scotland in order to usurp him on his throne. Banquo was frankly terrified by this course of action and Macbeth's descent into madness, and when he tried to escape, Macbeth had him killed. So that brings us back here. Macbeth, terrified in the center of the throne room as he sees Banquo's ghost sitting on his throne. And you have to put yourself in the shoes of the court at this point. They've seen their previous king killed. Their current king is having fits of madness in the middle of the throne room. And it's all due to these prophecies these strangers have come and delivered. And can you really blame them for being scared about how the governance of their kingdom is being disrupted by just some words? So what they did is actually they reached out to a very well-known alchemist in the region and asked them to come and try to apply a little bit more of a scientific method to Macbeth's actions. And of course, that's me. So I am quite famous in the region, actually. Here's me. I was discussing with the King of England about some of my most recent work, which was a framework to assess the potential of circular food system technologies. And so this became quite well known in the area, and the Court of Scotland actually invited me up to say, Clark, we know that you have this. Can you please apply this to Macbeth to try to take him off the path of these prophecies and put him in a better future direction? So let me explain a little bit more about this framework. Well, me and a couple other alchemists got together and we looked at the fields of social cost-benefit analysis, the true pricing of externalities, life cycle assessment, and food systems conceptualization. And from these disparate fields, we sat down and we created a general system of equations, which looks quite terrifying when you're seeing it all laid out. But the important point of today is that you understand that we can take data, we can take this information and actually quantify the potential of a food systems technology and, of course, Macbeth's actions. And from this quantification, we can then place this technology or course of action on a simple XY matrix. And of course, to compare everything, you want to look at what is the baseline. And so we put our baseline, so this is what, for the example of circular technologies, would be the linear technology would be replacing, or for Macbeth, his prophecy. And we want to put that at the origin point, 0, 0. On the y-axis, we talk about net market benefits. So this is what can be seen as the economic dimension of our framework. And on the x-axis, we look at net spillover benefits. So this can be seen as the societal dimension. And naturally, from this come 4 different technology groupings, of which from that, we can look at how we can deal with these technologies in the future. So a couple weeks ago, I actually got together with the Court of Scotland, and they gave me all of the data and all of the information that I needed about Macbeth and his current situation, so that we were actually able to apply this framework to him. And of course, the first step that you need to do is define your baseline. And in this, Macbeth continues to follow his prophecy, descending little by bit into madness. He kills some more civilians, and then he loses his life fighting against the English and the relatives of the former Scottish king, whose army I actually hear is marching towards us right now. So let's look at then the 4 different groupings. The worst case action for Macbeth is he rapidly continues his descent into madness. He actually decides to take his army, invade England, and then after that, both of the populations in both countries starve. So we can see that much, much worse on both the economic and societal dimensions. Then, if we move to the right, the best societal action for Macbeth. So this is where he forms a truce with England in order to cause peace. Sounds great. But he raises the taxes on all the peasants to such a degree that the economy of Scotland completely grinds to a halt. And I think we can all say that's also not very good either. On the upper right, the best economic course of action. So he forms a protectorate underneath England, which allows for the gross expansion of trade between these 2 countries. However, it requires all the peasantry in Scotland to fight in England's wars, causing widespread bloodshed and the depopulation of Scotland, which we can also agree doesn't really sound that appealing. But finally, the best case action for Macbeth is he enters into a peace agreement between all neighboring countries, which allows for free trade and travel between these countries, and as a nice little cherry on top, an extra day of holiday every month, which I think we can all agree on would be pretty great. So, of course, this framework was not only for Macbeth. In the past, we've actually analyzed the processes of feeding food waste to chickens in the Netherlands, bone char fertilizer in Ethiopia, and dairy farm biodigesters in Uruguay. And from these 4 groupings, to take it one step further, we actually created distinct policy actions so that governments or funding agencies can act to either increase or decrease the potential of different technologies that find themselves in these 4 groupings. So, we know and we've heard a lot about these prophecies. Thank you, Clement. And I want to just take a moment here as an alchemist to warn you about these prophecies, to warn you about silver-tongued strangers that might appear to you, on a stage, or a trio of witches that might arise in a bog as you're walking home, and what things that they might encourage you to do, because it might be that you're missing part of the story, that you really need to look at all different dimensions for your actions in order to not enter down this path of horrible results. So, with that, it appears with the most recent bell that the Army of England is outside, so I must say adieu for now to make my escape. I would like to thank all of my fellow alchemists that helped me to write this work, and thank you for listening to my talk, How Alchemists and Witches Explore Transformative Horizons. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Clark. Okay, people, that was our Science Slam, our four presenters. Did you have fun watching the presentations? All right. So, now we're going to come to your role voting for who wins the Science Slam. I think all four won, but you guys can pick a winner. But before we get to the voting, I would like to welcome all four Slammers back onto the stage. If you guys could come back up here. Usha Sri Sankari, Thomas Freimuth, Dorcas Sanginga Alame, and of course, Clark Halpern. So I'll give you a brief summary just in case you might have forgotten who our Slammers were today. Usha Sri introduced us to Lena, who went on a picnic with her family and ended up in the doctor's office. But Usha Sri came up with a solution. She picked 3 super grain superheroes who she had them have their own slam so she could find a winner, and the winner was millets. And then Lena could go back on having picnics with her family and didn't have to end up at the doctor's. Then we had Thomas, who told us that tuna apparently listened to heavy metal, and came up with a better diet for fly larvae, a varied diet. And in fact, if fly larvae eat this very diet, they can get on ships and travel all around the world. We saw it on the map there. Then we came to Dorcas, who introduced us to the idea that farmers don't just need science to improve their yield. There are very different factors that improve or hurt yield, which include cultural and societal issues. And so that some scientists just need, some farmers just need science to improve their yields, others need help learning how to apply the science to improve their yields, and others need help farming to improve their yields. And to help make this system fair for all, the slogan, "No farmer left behind." And then finally, we came to Clark, who I think is the first person to ever have Shakespeare at the Global Forum for Food and Agriculture. He showed us ancient tile work that pictured himself and King Charles talking about various systems, which I found fascinating because the tile work must be much older than either Clark or King Charles, but hey, that's the way it goes. And then finally, we saw him before our very own eyes, fleeing the Army of England. So those are our 4 Slammers. Can we please have applause for our 4 Slammers again? Thanks. All right, so now it's up to you guys. We're gonna have the QR code and you can start to vote. You scan the QR code and vote. Pick your winner. We'll keep this up there for about a minute. Technology is nice. Hopefully AI won't interfere here, as we think. I was amazed to see how many of the presentations were made with AI. I think it supports my theory. Maybe I'll talk a little bit about Berlin while you guys are voting, while we're tallying the votes. I live actually over in what used to be the former East Berlin, and I have a lot of friends who grew up in what was then East Germany, and a friend of mine who grew up just a couple doors away from me. He used to tell me a story that when he was a child in East Germany, he would look at the television tower. I don't know if you're familiar with, there's a television tower right here. Of course, this is the one that used to be in the West. It's kind of boring. It looks like the Eiffel Tower. There's another television tower in Germany, which is over on in Berlin, over on Alexanderplatz, which is sort of the logo of Berlin these days. It looks like a spaceship. And my friend, when he was a child, he used to dream that he would go up in this television tower and that for some reason this tower would tip over and he would land in West Berlin and be free. And yeah, it's a very nice story. And the story fascinated me. So I looked it up. The television tower in Berlin is it was then 362 meters high. It was the tallest building in Germany. It is still the tallest building in Germany, but it is now 368 meters high because it's now owned by Deutsche Telekom, and capitalism always has to prove that it's better. So it's now 368 meters high. And then I did the math. I looked at a map where the wall used to go through Prenzlauer Berg, Mitte, Kreuzberg, and then I did the math. And unfortunately, what I discovered is that regardless of which direction the television tower would have tipped over, my friend would have been dead. So it would not have mattered. He would not have made it into the West. Is the voting? How's the voting? Are we done? Okay, we've got the. All right. So then I think I won't announce the winner today. I would like to welcome to the stage Claudia Müller, a parliamentary state secretary for the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. Welcome.
Hi, Drew.
Hi. So I'll leave you, the stage is yours, as I like to say.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Drew. Thank you, everyone. And, well, I was just coming up front doing the last presentation, but I did listen to all of them. We were sitting in the very back, so a little sneaky today. Yeah, and thank you for your very interesting and exciting presentations, because you really gave life to what we are saying. Bioeconomy, all of that. Seems technical, it seems so high up, but it's not. It is what we really need. It is what we need to reach sustainability. And as you proved, that is not a nice to have, it is a necessity. Because in order to realize the right to food, in order to realize growing wealth in the region, to give the basis for life, and therefore the basis for peace, we need bioeconomy, and we need to combine new ideas, new technologies, science, with a very down-to-earth approach to really address what people need, what the farmers need. Not telling them, but listening, and then giving them the right tools, because most people know best what they are doing, but really enabling them. And that's what you presented here with your ideas. It was all very interesting. The one with the Shakespeare and the Macbeth one, I really liked that. I mean, we're doing this kind of analysis, but bringing these new elements into it, very interesting. I really have to think about that one, especially as an economist. You know, we do these smart analysis. It's kind of, but it was very interesting. What we're seeing is that these new ideas are not really new. Very often, they are based on old techniques, on old resources. And they are really making their way in our daily lives. For example, when we talk about dishwashing liquids made from renewable raw materials, when we talk about clothing made out of wooden fibers, when we talk about tires made of dandelions. So we are moving away from finite fossil resources to renewable resources, and combining the right food together with economic growth, because it really has to go hand in hand. And really, if we do not have security in the food system, we will not have security in any other ones. And that's why we have chosen this topic for this year's GFFA, because we see the big promise it holds, and you, dear Slammers, you make sure that the word is spread, because that's what we are really here for. It's nice to talk in smaller communities, but we have to connect, we have to spread the word, we have to build networks, we have to make sure that the ideas come to the people that need them, and that we can develop them further as well. And you know that we do not need just a handful of people who implement the system of sustainability perfectly. We need millions of people who do it imperfectly. Because waiting for perfection means waiting for eternity. That's not what we need. We need to go to the first steps and then go on and on and on until we reach a goal. And then we set the next one and the next one and next one. So development continues. And it's really the message you carried here from your countries to Berlin. And you didn't run the Berlin Marathon. That would have been the perfect answer, you know? That might have cost you. And this is really what you did. And what you presented, Even though it sounded like fairy tales sometimes, they were not. This was the reality. This is what can come true and what has come true. The black soldier flies, you illustrated how that can make such a big impact. You demonstrated how equality and equity can change people's life to the better in every field. And that is really the new twist you are bringing to the stories. Now, my very special thanks goes to the German Federal Institute of Risk Assessment, because they were providing substantial support for this slam and expertise. So thank you. And now, before we come to what you are all waiting for, Drew, would you come up stage again? So, I already know who has won. And I'm going to share the knowledge with you, don't worry. So all these tales were extremely captivating, but one that has especially captivated the audience. And the winner of the 2025 GFFA Science Slam is, now I hope I pronounce that, Dorcas Sanginga Alame. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Congratulations. Absolutely happy. Thank you. Yes. And I want to thank you. Thank you very much. Oh my God.
Okay, we have all three, the other slammers, Tomasz, Ursasri, and Clark, come on back up stage, come on back up.
Thank you.
Congratulations. You all did wonderfully. And I'm telling you, that Berlin thing costed you.
Yeah, this is it. We've reached the end of our slam. I'm from Polycult. We organize science slams all around Germany, actually internationally as well. We'd also like to thank Solveig Schreiber from the Institute for Risk Assessment as well. Thanks for having us every year, and thanks to the ministry for having us. And hey, thank everybody. Thank you for coming out. This was one of our best slams. I'm glad you were here. I'm glad you could see it, and hopefully see you back here next year. And thanks a lot to the slammers. Thank you very much.